Get your own house in order, because that will raise the ships. That will raise everything around you.
Good afternoon, guys. This is Eric LeClaire over at Push Press, and we're continuing our In the Trenches series. The guest that I have on today has actually been someone who's been in my life for at least the last 3 years, weekly, if not often every other couple of days. And funny enough, we've never even had a chance to hang out at all, but we've been working together. Scott has been somebody that I've had a chance to grow with and bounce ideas off of. We had a chance to get together through the company Level Method, and many of you got a chance to watch Nathan's episode earlier. But today I'm very humbled and very happy to have a good friend on. We have a couple of different avenues to explore. Definitely going to start poking on some different leadership roles, and hopefully we can extrapolate some ideas that may work towards solutions for a handful of you today. But Scott, man, without further ado, thank you for your time today.
Man, what a great intro. That's fun.
It's great having you. I know we've had a chance to kind of go back and forth. Tomorrow we've got a Brotherhood of Fatherhood podcast coming out. We talk surrogacy. We get a chance to get you on today, and we're going to talk leadership. We're going to talk struggles and challenges. We're going to talk about Brotherhood of Fatherhood, and I really want to make sure that we get a chance to kind of press through what you've learned, not only as husband, dad, owner, gym owner, coach, entrepreneur. Like you've touched all these bases that I aspire to grow in. So for those that don't know anything about you through Level Method or you through Brotherhood of Fatherhood, man, help us out. Where would you like to start?
Yeah. So just a little background. I started my career after I got married. I got my master's degree in education. I became an educator in public schools for 13 years. And so got a lot of hands-on in middle school. I was actually probably, I loved it, actually. I loved it. I had a lot of success there. I can touch more on that experience later, but shortly after or during my stint as an educator, I also opened a bike shop. I was very passionate about cycling. I raced cycles. I was very into that through grad school and actually my entire life. And so I opened a bike shop and eventually had a lot of success in direct sales, or MLM, if you will. And then I owned a CrossFit affiliate. I absolutely loved that. Been kind of touching into the fitness area since that. And I sold that to relocate to Texas. So I live in Texas currently, did that very intentionally to get my kids in the schools I wanted them in. And man, I've worked for a corporate, in the corporate world as a VP of sales and customer service. And then that led to Level Method, which has just been an absolute amazing experience, getting to know so many amazing people, so many gym owners, and really diving into the leadership inside of each gym, how gyms operate, and some of the best friendships have been forged that way. And, we haven't even met in person, but we talk like we've been together as friends for a long time. And then I've actually started the Brotherhood of Fatherhood with another guy I met through Level Method. And so that's kind of a really quick background run of who I am and what I do.
25 years more mashed up of time of your own growth.
Yep.
Of course, your own development academically, professionally, obviously financially. I mean, you've got a chance to get up and move across the country. Let's go back to that time you spent as an educator.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from? Did you have excellent teachers that you looked up to and turned you on to intern teaching or developing others? How'd you know you wanted to teach?
I had a few good teachers, but really, quite honestly, I wasn't an awesome student. And I had a lot of bad teachers. And really what happened as I realized that I really liked working with youth, I had a degree in psychology. So I was working with kids with a lot of special needs and behavioral issues. And that turned into, teaching. It turned into my passion to educate. And it's a long story how I got there, but I really found a voice. I really realized that kids need to learn from people who don't know, or who do know, but had to work to get there. And so I was able to bring, I felt so good about bringing lessons and experiences to kids where it really resonated with them. My whole goal was to connect. I had a very amazing connection with tons of my students. They still reach out to me today. And that was really the precipice, is making change on a local level and impacting kids to actually be okay in the education setting when they typically wouldn't. In fact, I really jived well with from the very top students to the very low students. And it was an amazing experience. But I'll fast forward a little bit. In the last few years, I had experienced owning businesses, and then I'd been successful in the direct sales business and had gone through a ton of leadership training. And I started to see that our schools were turning, where I lived, were turning into like a mediocrity machine. Like I taught leadership. I created a leadership class at the school I was at, the middle school. We had the interview and I led that, and I just got this massive passion for leadership. But at the same time, I started to see all the issues within the system. And the more I grew as a leader, the more friction I got from the system. And it became, I just literally had to walk away and say, hey, look, I can't be an old curmudgeon teacher that everyone hates. I love it now, and I'm getting out now. So
I know that faith is a massive part of you and your family's focus, and how you make decisions. I know that's a huge piece. Did you choose not to teach in private for a very specific reason? Did you recognize the need on the public side, or is that the direction you always wanted to help in?
I always believed in public education. I had a lot of friends that were, like most of my friends in high school, were going to a private Christian school. And then I went to college. My friend from that private school, we went to college together, we're roommates, and I saw their lives fall apart. And there was a ton of them that really struggled. And what I realized is that from my point of view, while they were in the home, they weren't exposed to the realities of life, the pressures, the maybe drug and alcohol, like exposure, learning to say no within the confines of their home under their parents' guidance. So my whole theory has been, it's changing a little bit now, but my whole theory has been like, give our kids as much experience in real life scenarios where we actually have a little pull and a little push in their life where we can actually guide them and help them. Have them have those experiences in that time so that when they do go off on their own, they've already gone through a lot of that and they have been led and modeled through that. And so that was always my point of view, is like, this is my opportunity to help kids see ways of succeeding. And then I got to be that person with a lot of kids that didn't have that. And right. So, I took that extremely serious. I'd been a skateboarder my entire life. And in my 30s teaching, I literally would take my car. It's probably not legal anymore, but it would be piled 2 kids deep in the back. It was a Honda Accord. And every day, like 3 times a week after school, I would load as many kids. They had to have a waiver or whatever. And I'd take them to a skate park and we would skate. And that was my thing, is like, however I can connect and enjoy and connect with these kids and just like be in their world and then give them some positive influence was a really driving force for me.
It's so frustrating for me to hear how amazing and enriching that experience must have been for those kids, and that today that can't happen. No. I never taught, but I've coached at the middle school and high school level for the same thing, like almost 20 years. And the restrictions placed on coaches, particularly coaches that have those connections and can, like, it's not just the job. Like, we did a ton of backpacking. We did a ton of high mountain, for cross country, we take the kids up to Mammoth. And it was so regimented and I get it. I know there's rules to keep kids safe, but man, you would be fired immediately if you had a kid, it didn't matter, boy or girl, in your car, going off campus to go do something else. But yet, I guarantee you, those are the kids that you impacted the most. And those are probably the kids that now, as adults, they probably call you and remember those experiences.
They do. And the crazy thing was I had full blessing of their parents. I had full blessing of the administration. But really what happened over those 12, 13 years I was teaching, I saw all those things going away. Yep. And I saw like the chipping. There was the final straw was I was doing a fundraiser for our school. I would do this one fundraiser, and it's a small school, and I'd earn like $13,000. The students themselves would earn $13,000, and the price of admission for a walkathon, that was, you got out of one period, you got to walk. The price of admission was a quarter, and the superintendent called minutes before one of my activities and said, "You can't exclude anybody from this because some people can't afford this." And I said, they can't pick up, in Oregon, you can pick up cans, 5 cents a can, 10 cents a can to turn in. They can't pick up 3 cans and participate. And he's like, no, it's not fair. And I was like, we have to have effort in the things we have to have some sort of earning to get what we get. And that was like the final straw. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I cannot be a part of this system.
Man, it's heartbreaking to me because there could have been so many more kids' lives touched in a positive and enriched experience. You know, you get to the point where your hands are tied and you just throw up like I'm done. I can't spend any more time here.
Yeah.
For that, I'm so sorry. I when I speak with teachers that pour their heart into their craft and pour their heart in because they truly care about the end result, which is that experience of that child, and then they are burned by the system, or they're burned by the school district, or they're burned by administration, it just gets me so frustrated. So I'm glad you're able to do it for as long as you did, because you did have a positive impact on those kids when you were there. Guaranteed.
Yeah. Guaranteed. And I want to say what I'm about to say with the utmost respect for teachers. And if you have a spouse or you are a teacher and you're listening to this, I want you to hear me. But a lot of teachers are very set in their ways, and it's not about that. It turned from passion to just comfort. It was just a comfortable job, and they were doing a horrible job. And so that stuff didn't matter to them. All they cared about was, am I popular, and am I getting my paycheck, and will I get my paycheck next month? And I couldn't be a part of that. Once you get a taste of entrepreneurial people, once you get a taste of leadership, once you get a taste of people that hold themselves to a higher accord, and it's just not about fitting into a system. It's like a taste of, it's like I got blood on my, I'm a shark and I'm sniffing blood, and I'm like, okay, I'm going that direction. And so no, there's teachers out there that are still just phenomenal, but there's so many that aren't. And so it's a tough system, and I just couldn't be a part of it. And I'll tell you, working with gym owners, one thing I've noticed is they're not about comfort. A lot of them don't, they're not caught in the rote, stepping through life. They're entrepreneurs. They're out there, they got a big picture, and they typically want to help people. So it's an absolute joy to work with people who have the right things on their radar. What are we doing? How are we impacting the world? What is our vision? What's our mission? Those things, just it's an absolute joy to work with people like that.
That's a tiny jump ahead. So remind me to come back to bikes, because don't let me forget about that. But I mean, luckily, being in the Level Method community, being in the Legion, that already is like a filtering system for those gym owners that want to they want to differentiate themselves in the market, but more importantly, they want to continue to learn so that they can in turn pass down those lessons and give a better service, a safer, more effective, more efficient service for their gym goers, their clients, their family, their friends, the people that are there. You and I both know that there are tons of micro gym owners and affiliate owners that are totally cool sitting down on the job, providing less than service, and just checking off a number and collecting a check. Those aren't the people that are trying to get into Level Method. No,
and they do. The ones that do get in, they think it's going to be a quick fix, and they quickly go away. And typically, I'll tell them, "Hey, this probably, I'll get the hint of that pretty quick, and I'll say this isn't the right thing for you."
Right.
Because there's no use having those type of people in your circle.
No way, not at all. I mean, if anything, you just know right away that it's a wrong fit, and it's going to be too much work on your behalf to try and correct for their issues. Yep. Moreover, the click isn't going to happen for them, and so then they walk away with a bad taste in their mouth, like, "Hey, that thing didn't work for me." When in reality, you've got hundreds and hundreds that it's truly optimized for, and you got a couple of clunky individuals that don't want to put in the work. It's okay. Like, you know what? It's just not for you. Not for you right now. Maybe in a year, right? Come back in a year. That might work. Maybe.
Yeah, and I do that. I'll tell people, "Hey, look, go do XYZ and let's talk."
Right. Come on back. Dude, okay, so I completely forgot that you raced. What did you race?
I just raced mountain bikes. It was more of just a hobby, but I trained like I was a pro. Like I was on my bike all the time. I became a master mechanic in graduate school. I really dove into it. I'm a hands-on learner. It's like if there's something out there and I can learn it, I'm going to. Something that I enjoy. So I did that in grad school back east in Massachusetts, Connecticut, those New England states. Had a great time, but yeah, that's it.
So that opened the doors into owning the bike shop, or did you end up right place, right time, and a bike shop was up for sale and you just said, I love it, I want it?
No, I would never do that because it's not mine. I mean, I'm nutty like that. So I moved back to Oregon and started working summers as a teacher. I'll be honest, teaching was boring to me. When I was in with the kids, I was fully engaged, but I was very efficient. And so when school was out, I was done with my work. I just wasn't this guy that worked on the weekends. I had it all nailed down. I didn't ever understand why teachers took so long. I'm like, man, you're working way too hard. I'm just having a great time. I'm getting all my work done. I'm doing all my reporting. So I started a bike shop. I was working in the summer at a bike shop. I was a little disappointed in the service. It's kind of always had this service thing to me. And so I'm like, hey, look, people are paying me to work on their bikes in my garage. I'm just going to get a 300 square foot loft. And I did. And I'm going to build a little bike shop in there. Well, within 6 months, I was kind of on a cover of a bike catalog, because like of the unique setting. It turned into 3,000 square feet. And I think I had up to 7 full-time employees. We were shuttling people on the North Umpqua Trail. It's a 100-mile one-way trail, so we would shuttle them. I was mountain biking every freaking minute. Yeah, all downhill. So that bike shop came, and here's the crazy part is I started it right when my first son was born. Like right when he was born, there's something. This is a pattern I've noticed talking to many men is a lot of times when they have their first baby on their way, something triggers in their head and it's like, I got to start a business. Like, it's just crazy. And I was one of those guys. Yeah. Right.
Makes sense. I get it.
So now I'm running a business that's turning into this full-time or a full thing. I'm going to work at 4 a.m., working at the bike shop, heading to school at 7:30, getting off at school 3:34, going to the bike shop, getting home 8 or 9 p.m. That's my life.
Right. Burn. Yep. Total. How long did that last before you said no, thank you?
5 years. 5 years. I came home and my wife, obviously, my son was 5. And I came home one night and the table had one dinner plate on it and it was made up. And the entire house was dark because she was in bed. Kids were in bed. And I got slapped across the face with the reality that I was not a father or a husband that I needed to be. And I told her, look, something's got to change. I'm willing to do something. Because when I wasn't working, I was out mountain biking with my bros. We made a decision. I made a decision that one thing had to give. And I got advice to stick with teaching because it was secure. Right now, I'm glad I did, but I don't think it was the right advice. And so I found a buyer for the bike shop, and literally in the 11th hour, going through all the negotiations, all the paperwork, everything, in the 11th hour, the buyer said, you know what? I'm not interested. And he basically had a financial guy from the college tell him it was a bad investment, which it wasn't. It was actually a great money machine. But so instead of wholesaling, like getting rid of everything, I just shut the doors. I'm like, my marriage is too valuable. My role as a father is too valuable. And literally overnight assumed over $250,000 in debt.
Jesus.
Yeah. Because the inventory goes on cycles. You get it and then you pay it during the season. And we just got an inventory. So I'm like, you know what? I can't afford to my marriage is at risk. Who I am is at risk. So there you go.
Talk about looking back, thinking about choices and how you got to where you are today. I mean, that was a massive decision that had huge implications. You know, turn left, this happens. Turn right, this happens. Well, you turned right, and here you are. So what ended up happening then thereafter? I mean, did you get a chance to sit down with your wife and say, look, I'm willing to give this up. I'm willing to let this go. It wasn't easy thereafter right away. I mean, it wasn't like just perfect. So what happened?
I realized I was horrible at leading my family. I realized I didn't know how to be around my family. I don't think my wife and kids would say that, but I would say that. Like
inside, you figured that out. Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. And I was miserable. I still went mountain biking with my friends. I found another loft to do repairs on to try and get my money back. I was working the same amount. And I just literally, I did this huge sacrifice, and I wasn't in a place in my own personal growth to realize that it wasn't just going to take shutting a business down. I had to get somewhere. And that, what happened was, I was desperate for money. I mean, you know, we also had a huge, beautiful home, and then 2008, and
Sure.
we lost. I think we were in Oregon. We lost about 150,000 in equity overnight on that, and so our losses were massive. And so I kind of got really depressed. I got very large size, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I was pretty depressed. So
How did you pull yourself out of that funk, and where in the world did the CrossFit affiliate come from?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. So it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Eve. And I was sitting at my in-laws' house looking on the computer, and I'm like, I don't care how illegal or dangerous it is. I'm going to find something that's going to help me lose weight. That was my answer to everything. And I started researching, and I found this company, and I just reached out to someone. And the next thing I know, I'm on the phone call, and they're giving me the opportunity speech. I know nothing about direct sales.
Zero.
Nothing. I go all in, all credit card, go all in the next day. And I
wanted that 30%, right? Special sale or special whatever it was, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I went all in. Within the first month, I was out of the hole and plus $1,100. And then before I knew it, 6 months later, I was, pulling in probably 8,000 to 10,000 a month. So
big difference.
I did well. My wife wasn't on board until I started making money. And then she's like, ooh, there's something to this. But the big thing for me was the leadership training involved. The leadership training, when you get in a company like that, if it's a good one, they just immerse you. I mean, you're just like dunked headfirst into leadership. And I just became a sponge.
Sure.
And so whatever the outcome of that whole part of the story is, it ended bad a year ago, but the outcome of that story was it changed who I was, and it changed the trajectory of my life. We earned a lot of money doing that, but the big deal is the fact that I was a completely different person. I finally had the support and the information and the wherewithal to step into a better role as a dad, a husband, a business owner. It was a big pivotal part in my life.
Was that internal in you? Was it something you felt different about, or was it something you learned to do differently?
That's really interesting. I don't know how to answer that question.
Let me a different way. Is it something you felt about yourself? So like confidence, security, like self-worth, like I now feel confident in myself, or was it something you were academically taught to just do, and when you followed the steps, you were successful, therefore you felt better?
So first of all, the opportunity gave me hope. Like I had lost hope financially. So I stepped into that, and it gave me confidence. It gave me one win turned into 2 wins, turned into 3 wins. The no's I could care less about. I started to get this confidence. But what happened was I listened to this book called The Noticer by Andy Andrews. And I listened to that probably 10 times. And what I realized was the Noticer just basically paying attention to everything around you, the people around you. And then that's when my life became like centered here. And I started to do this. And I started to be like, this isn't about me. This is about everything going on out there. And then that became an internal drive where everything I read was leading to the same thing, serve others. But that imploded later. It actually did.
We'll come come back to what happened last year. I guarantee we'll hit on that before we jam today. So obviously that was a tremendous success. Did that catapult you into the fitness space?
Yes.
Like that's who you were going to be working with?
I was intrigued with CrossFit.
Okay.
People would disagree with the way I got started in CrossFit. So I was intrigued with CrossFit. I had earned a all expense paid cruise on a actual sailed yacht through the Greek islands. And I was on this yacht with probably about 6 other CrossFit affiliate owners. Jeremy Teal, Sean from Level Method. Kevin Schneider. I mean, there's all these really great guys. And they're like, have you ever done CrossFit? I'm like, no. They're like, so they started talking to me about the model, and I was always intrigued with it. And so I came home, started CrossFit immediately. I did personal training, and within probably 6 months, I had a business plan. I had the funding. I went down to the ranch, got my training by Camille and Miranda Oldroyd, and just the old school folks. Had no clue where I was at until they told me. It was crazy, and it was an amazing experience. I puked on that hill, but
funny you say Miranda. She was our guest last Thursday.
Oh, really? That's awesome. Yeah. Just great people. They cared about where we were at. I mean, I walked in the door and Camille grabs me by the shoulder. I've never seen her before. I have no clue who she is. Dave's right behind her, and I'm like, she's like shaking me. Do you know where you're at? Do you know where you're at? Isn't it amazing? I'm like, I have no clue where I'm at.
You're like, I'm off this frontage road in someone's barn. What's going on here? I love it.
So I came home and opened my affiliate. I love it. Yeah, I was right into action. We had 100 members in under like 4 months. And then when I sold it, we had 150 and probably 50 to 60 kids deep in our kids program.
Outstanding. Man, I love hearing that. What was the time frame between opening and selling?
2 years, or a year and a half.
Oh, wow. Ask, because you thought, because that was obviously it's not where you are today in Texas, right?
I was in Oregon, and
right.
I had been trying to move for 4 years to Texas so that we could get my kids, because I knew what middle school was like in the town I was from. And I knew what middle school was like here because my brother-in-law was the AD at a middle school here and a teacher. And I'd visited him, like my mind was blown on Texas schools. I was like, this is incredible. And so my goal was to move to Texas before then. We're trying to sell our house for 4 years. We were the third owners of this home, this 1911 home. It was like 4,000 square feet, beautiful craftsman home. And people would knock on our door and ask us to buy it cash. They'd be like, I want your house. And we're like, no, it's like our dream house. Of course, when the market plummeted, we couldn't sell it. We tried to sell it for 4 years. And so we basically had to wait that long. So when the opportunity came across, when we owned the gym, and it was actually starting to be profitable, and I wasn't working all hours, I had staff in place, it's like, I'm handing, here you go, here's your money machine, thank you very much. I built it to where it was at, and then we relocated.
Wild. Talk about, it's funny that we've lived such parallel lives of building and selling and home, and getting ready to move all the way across the country. You land in Texas. But you had a relationship with HQ, or a relationship obviously with your direct sales company, a relationship now with CrossFit. You knew Sean.
Yep.
So how did you then go from affiliate owner? What came next? Was it right into Level Method?
So affiliate owner and still successful in the direct sales business, so I didn't need to work. So we moved to Texas, and I thought the best thing in the world would be to work out 3 times a day, hang out. But my entrepreneurial mind does not work that way.
Right. Never sleeps.
I was bored to death. So I did that for about 8-9 months. And then I got a job. I got recruited into a job to do, it was a little more complicated, but I ended up running a inside sales department and a customer service department for a service company. And I did that for 3 years and was miserable. I stopped working out 100%. I didn't get to be the person I wanted to be. They hired me for who I was, but then as soon as I got there, I was completely stifled. It was a bad scenario. So when I met Sean in February at our annual meeting for the business, he was there. He wasn't doing anymore, but he's just there he likes to talk to people. So he was there to meet and greet everybody. This was in Texas. And I messaged him on LinkedIn. I said, hey, what's going on? He was doing the grid thing. He said, well, actually we're doing this new thing. I want to talk to you. So we met, he gave me the spiel. And then, 3-4 months later, I dove head first into Level Method on a wing and a prayer.
And that has, for gym owners that don't know about it, I mean, the Level Method obviously is open to more than just CrossFit affiliates. The methodology in and of itself is all things about assessments, addressing weaknesses and considerations, and progressing clients safely and effectively through the group fitness model. And so what do you do with Level Method?
So I started in sales. I think we had 17 people when I started, 17 gyms. I grew it to 135, and then I passed that on. So I did a lot of sales the first year, and I onboarded every single gym. So I onboard every gym. I do like onboarding / mentoring calls with the owners, really talk to them about leadership, how to lead through this change. Change is a big deal. So I'm kind of like a change manager with them. And I handle the customer service. I send them things. I do calls with them, customer, just checking in. I have amazing relationships with those folks.
I'm going to say the Legion is a tight-knit group of folks that are, I believe, heads and shoulders above their peers in the gym ownership space.
We have some incredible people, and seeing some of them just rise from the ashes, the transformations they've gone through, the growth they've gone through. Somebody wrote a blog, Ben Jakeman at CrossFit Ulysses in the UK wrote a blog that actually made me cry. Just because I've been through that transformation with him. So
I've loved watching it. I mean, I'm trying to think. It was like September of 2016. Nathan and Sean said, we want to try and run this thing. And can we come up to the gym and run a immersion for some coaches? And, luckily the coaches we had at TCCA they were not skeptical of anything. Any coach or model that we put in front of them, they sucked it up. They loved it. And the clients fell in love. We had, I think out of a few hundred clients, we had 11 total that were not hip to it and they didn't really like the objectivity anymore because they really couldn't hide. Some folks had some issue with the men or the male-female standards. And I said, it's a growing, evolving process. Things will change over time and be refined. And here it is now. The map is out, potential certification for coaches, but individualization programming is out. It's a huge component to it. And just the culture and the organization, the leadership is massive, absolutely massive. I can't say enough about it. I mean, I no longer own a gym, but I still like to write on behalf of it. I still love to talk about it. I still love to coach coaches on it. It's been something that obviously I fell in love with. I mean, it's been almost 4 years, and hanging with you now for almost 3 years of those 4 years.
It's been awesome. It's been a great learning experience.
It's now given you a chance to kind of have another thought in your mind. Maybe you've seen this component lacking in friends, coaches, trainers, business owners, entrepreneurs, everyone. What are you working on today?
So it's Brotherhood of Fatherhood. And it's a very interesting, it's a long accumulation of things together. It all started that moment I came home to the empty house or the dark house. My wife was in bed, and that slap across the face, and the journey that I went through from there all the way up until like 2 years ago, where I've gone through some identity things. Like, I think men really struggle with their identity. Like, a lot of gym owners their identity is in their gym. If they lose their gym, their life is crushed. And I've seen it over and over again. They don't know who they are. And so a lot of this, like not belonging, not knowing how to lead in my own home, not leading in my own business, which led to some downfalls. And then what I saw over and over and over again is men oblivious. And I'm not trying to be rude, but a lot of men are oblivious to the things that they should be doing to raise future successful adults. We gotta stop raising kids and stop raising future successful adults. And then also men not not doing the things they need to do to be the husband or the partner that they really should be. And here's the thing is I started working with Josh Price, who I met through Two Brain. We hit it off. We actually started with kind of this fitness idea, and it turned into this thing of, I was working with him through being a dad. He's got a 6-year-old, and basically it's at some point I had a different idea. I had an idea, and I talked to you about it, Eric, and it's still there. I had this really cool idea for something, but he's like, man, you have helped me so much through this transition as a father and really kind of seeing some of these things. This is what we need to do. And the Brotherhood of Fatherhood was born. We started immediately with the podcast. We have a group of over 3,000, maybe it's over 3,000 men in a Facebook group, and it's just starting to catch its wings. And I'm absolutely 100% passionate, because if I can reduce the time of pain a man goes through, some sort of fashion, because it's going to happen. There is going to be a point when a lot of times it's called a midlife crisis, but there's going to be a point when you look and you see, you're going to say, I didn't have this figured out, and I've been running around like a chicken with its head cut off. I've been doing things wrong, and everything starts to internalize, and then you're starting to grow. So my whole goal in life is to help men shorten that and become the men they need to be in their home, in their community, in their business.
You have like not a set of marching orders, but it's kind of like the overarching mission. I think it may be an acronym, and so correct me if I'm wrong. Walk me through those steps.
Yeah, so we put together the term father, and so we kind of thought, okay, we have to have fitness, we have to have faith, because it's just it's a thing for me. We have to have humility. We have to have these things. And I've always been driven for a tribe. Like, I had friends, but I never had a tribe until CrossFit. That gave me a little bit of tribe. And then I relocated, and it's been a long struggle, a long journey for me. And so father is faith, then it's ability. And ability is like, we should always be learning things. We should always be learning skills, physical, emotional, spiritual, all those things. So faith, ability, tribe, which we've created a tribe, humility, which a lot of men need work with, and we need constant.
Yep.
Energy, which is our exercise component, our be healthy, and then resources, which is financial. And so everything we do pivots on that.
No, that makes sense. And it's fantastic that it was able to be, you guys were able to kind of weave that into the term father as the acronym. Very selfishly, I want the poster that's behind you, right? Someone put that up in my office as well too. But that's huge, because I think that serves as a framework for individuals to either self-assess, let's just totally steal level method, assess, address, and progress themselves.
Absolutely.
Their role as the man, as the husband, as the father, but most importantly, their role in building that next generation, like you said, as wonderful, competent, capable, contributing adults.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yep.
It's absolutely huge. Did you think it was going to grow as fast as it did?
Absolutely not.
No.
We went from 40 guys in the group, and I said, hey, it's kind of a private group, invite only. And I said, let's go ahead and open this up. And I said, and I'll give you guys a hat. The guy who gets the most guys in here will get a hat.
Remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So I had a hat made. I popped a picture up, and we were at like 2,000 people within 30 days. And now it just keeps growing. So
you got to come out with like our military challenge coins. You got to have a Brotherhood of Fatherhood coin, and like an earned, not issued kind of a thing. I got my head, same thing, 2:00 in the morning, my head is spinning.
That's where it all started, is I said, we got to have a man's Boy Scouts. We got to have something that's. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I agreed. I mean, total tangent. When we, I always coached high school cross country. And like I said, we took the kids up to Mammoth, and I thought to myself, like, I really enjoy the growth and the adventure and the self reliance that was high altitude training with these kids. We'd, get dropped off at midnight. We do this round the mountain 20-mile run, and the kids thought it was the most amazing thing. I said, we got to have an adult version of this cross-country team, co-ed. Let's make it a trail racing club. At that time, I probably drank, 7 days out of the week, I was probably drinking Stone Ale. And so I approached Stone Brewery and I said, listen, our colors for our CrossFit are red and black, and I love your mountain bike jerseys. Is there any way we could be sponsored by Stone? And they were like, what? Yes, of course. We don't care. Just don't sell beer. So all of a sudden we created the Arrogant Bastard Trail Racing Club, and it was this amazing group of runners, friends, family, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, you name it. And everyone ran and everybody drank beer, and we grew it from the first 21 runners. We amassed about 150 runners at our largest, from 5K all the way to 100-mile race. And that tribe, that culture, that community, I mean, they bought in hard on the adventure.
Yep.
It took, when you take someone from saying, I've only run a 10K, and 1 year later they're running 100-mile ultras, it was amazing transformation. So that acronym hits so many aspects of, like, to kind of be the father of that program. All those things came into place. And today, no gym, no racing team, a handful of clients left, but I am a real dad. So those are huge now to me, to create something for Eleanor. So I'm so happy to be a part of your tribe. It's been great to read and watch and see these guys grow. I've been super humbled.
It's really fun, and we have huge plans. We currently offer coaching, and it's
Yep.
it's a transformative coaching. It's not like just this feel good stuff. We're actually really pulling out some things that are going to help men be better husbands, be better fathers, lead in their community, lead in their businesses, and it's incredible, and men need it. And then the plans are huge. So I won't even go into them. It's going to be fun. I'm sure you're going to be part of some of them. We've already talked about that, but the plans are big, and the future's, the future in this is huge. And the podcast, on the other end, the podcast has just been something we do, and it's been incredible for men to tell their stories. I've drawn so much knowledge from listening to average men tell their stories. You told your story about surrogacy. I've had, fathers that have grandkids now tell their stories of being raised without a father and their transformation. We've had these stories have just
massive.
They've been so helpful. So it's an absolute passion, and actually more than a passion right now, it's a calling. And here's the thing.
I get it. I can see that. I mean, you grew up as a teacher. Here you are as an educator in a completely different light. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. Here's what I see a lot of is a lot of gym owners, a lot of business owners work really hard to lead in their business. And this is where I was at. They work really hard to lead in their business. But, the closer it is to home, the more important it is to lead. So if you think of this, it's like you need to lead in your own home first. And that's where a lot of people are failing, is they're so focused on creating a wealth or a future of business that they absolutely or they absolutely forget,
neglect,
look what's going on in home. And that's a painful road later on. Wives leave, kids are estranged, kids rebel, all sorts of things happen. We have to start with our home. Then we can reach out to our friends and our extended family. We have to look at leadership in this growth pattern, and we have to give more inside our home. But the closest thing to us, the absolute closest thing to us, and the only thing we control is ourselves. And so that's where we start. Like, if you want things to be better around you, if you want your wife to be better, if you want your kids to be better, like, forget about it. You have to work on you. And that's point number one. And that's something that I really like to drive home.
Dude, I was going to say, I think you answered my next question. So many folks in our audience, they are gym owners, they're coaches, they're trainers, they're instructors, and they're burnt out, they're frustrated. We obviously saw a significant downturn during COVID with gyms closing and folks losing their jobs. That places a financial strain, of course, on their families. So for anyone in the audience today that's listening that might be burnt out, tired, exhausted, I mean, you name it, we've been there, we all have been there. How can you use today's platform to inspire? We've got a couple of minutes left. What would you say, or what could you say that could potentially reignite someone's passion?
First of all, don't do it alone. I think many men and strong women think that they need to do something alone and hide their weaknesses. And I think, first of all, get a tribe. And if it's the Brotherhood, if you're a father or you're an expected father, you belong in it, and you bring it, and you'll be amazed at what happens when you get to reach out. We've seen some massive transformation. Stories are just coming in. It's amazing, the power of a tribe. And then also, working on yourself. What I saw with businesses closing is it rose and fell on the leadership of the person, and how confident they were, how they understood the bigger picture, and really coming down to serving others. If they were so focused on serving others before this hit, their members were taking care of them. The stories I've heard have been incredible. And even the companies, I would say Level Method is in the upper ranks of how companies responded. There was several brands that I've said over and over again, and I think I told Nick Reyes this when I was talking with him. Several companies rose to the top. One was Push Press. You guys did some incredible things, pushed out tons of content, and you had scholarships. I mean, it was just like you've got to raise everybody up. Level Method did a phenomenal job, gave tons of content out, even gave some free content to non-Level Method gyms programming. And then Two Brain just like dumped a load of things on its group and on the community as a whole. I'm sure there was others, but then there were other companies
who just went.
The leadership was weak, and it was all me. They demanded money from their affiliates. They did things that I wouldn't say were good. And hey, this is where you see leadership. So get your own house in order, because that will raise the ships. That will raise everything around you.
Dude, I love it. I totally love it. I guarantee you, if folks weren't taking notes today, they're going to go back and they're going to rewind that and they're going to write all of that down. For those that are interested and were curious or intrigued by anything that we talked about today, how can folks reach out and find you?
Super easy. They can get a hold of me. It's Scott at Brotherhood Fatherhood. There's no oven there, whatever. Okay. Scott at brotherhoodfatherhood.com, Scott at levelmethod.com. Super easy, those two. And then, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, if you're a dude and you're a father or you're expecting to be a father, it's Brotherhood at Fatherhood, and it's a Brotherhood of Fatherhood, and it's a group. If you're a dudette and you want to help your husband or your significant other towards growth, you can join our page, follow our page, and just kind of quietly nudge that information on, because we post our podcast and
be gentle and like, hey, you need to read this, you need to watch this.
Yeah. And our podcast is Brotherhood of Fatherhood, and it's on every channel out there. So
I love it. Yes. Selfishly, again, I'll be looking forward to tomorrow's. I got a lot of folks that have been along the journey, and they'll want to listen in.
Yeah, you guys. It just been Eric's. I hate it when someone hijacks my podcast, but Eric's podcast episode is hot. It's great. I'm so excited. It's been like 4 weeks since we recorded. We're so backed up, but it comes out tomorrow, and I know it's going to be a killer one. Tomorrow, by the way, is August 20th. So it's out.
Exactly. I love it, man. Awesome. Well, Scott, again, from me to you, from my family, from my wife, from my new daughter to you, thank you for what you've helped me already accomplish. Thank you for the help in Level Method. One day we're going to hang out. I know. It's just going to have to happen.
It's bound to happen. It's kismet. It will happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, brother.
All
right.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, make sure you like our channel, subscribe, and check out our other videos right here.